Hey guys, Anthony here. Today's video is going to go over and review some emergency items that each one of us need to have in case of a hurricane, natural disaster, SHTF, economic collapse, whatever you want to call it. What I did in this video with one hurricane under our belts right now, Hurricane Arthur, and down here in South Florida, we had, we didn't get hit directly with Hurricane Arthur, but it was off our coast for several days, and it could have easily turned into and made landfall here in South Florida or North Florida, wherever. Instead, it skirted up the coast and, ended up hitting where it hit in North Carolina, and then skirted off to the northeast, I believe. But with that storm under our belts now, and our hurricane season still young, here in South Florida, I wanted to send out a reminder to many of us to prepare ahead of time before the storm. And what you see in front of you this morning is certainly not an all-encompassing list or viewing of items that you need for the storm, but it is some items that would come into play depending on the type of disaster, how hard it hit, how long it lasted. You would need these types of items or something like them to get yourself through and your family through it. And so what I'm going to do in this video is just briefly go over each category or each section that I have set up here. I tried to put it in a little bit of an order, but I just wanted you to be able to see while I'm talking in the video some of the items that I have out here that I stock. And certainly this is just a glimpse of some of the stuff that I stock. But it's simple stuff for the most part. It's basic stuff. Most of it you could buy in the store. Some you might have to do a little shopping online for, or digging around. But most of these items are on your store shelves. And many of us, our grocery store or our place where we do our food shopping and our big box stores and our hardware stores have many of these items. Doesn't have to be these exact brands of items, but covering things like you see here, you would need to have in the event of an emergency. And then if that emergency did in fact escalate to where you had to, ensure the defense of yourself, your family, your neighbors, whoever, you would have that ability at that point to do so and not have to worry about what am I going to do now. I don't have I never went out and purchased a handgun or bought some extra ammo or magazines or maybe a long gun to go with my handgun. And now I find myself in a world of hurt because the area is being preyed upon by people that take advantage of a grid down situation. And so I myself am switching gears this year into a new paradigm. I am increasing my preps on all levels, on every level. I'm increasing my self-defense. I'm building it bigger, better, stronger, and faster. And that is my goal this year, to build defenses, because I see all around me, in our country, around the world, everybody's building their defenses for something. And I want to keep in pace with that on my level. And that's my philosophy on how I plan and think and act because of what I see happening around me. And it's right in my own country where I see a lot of this ramping up and by the government buying ammunition and firearms and machinery and material, and I just don't I just don't get a good, warm, fuzzy feeling inside seeing that. And so we'll talk about that later. Let's go back to the items in the list here. And one of the things I wanted to point out is in a natural disaster, hurricane, tornado, flood, where the power grid goes down, these items are going to be worth their weight in gold. In fact, worth more of their weight in gold, especially water. Clean, available drinking water, water for washing wounds, and hydrating. Without it, you're dead. So water, number one, prep. Now we're assuming that you have shelter, which is the roof over your head, your apartment, your house, your cabin, whatever it is. I'm assuming you have shelter. Fortify that and make sure there's no leaks, and build that up as best you can. So next we're hitting water and food. We all know the rules of threes. I don't have to go over them. You can only go so long without food and without water. And so basic foodstuffs that store, what you're seeing here is certainly not long-term food storage, but it is longer term and food that does not have to be refrigerated. Things like canned goods, like this Hormel chili, vegetarian and beef chili. Different types of Spam and tuna. And like I said, everything's not represented here. Ramen, big and cheap way to store noodles and soup flavoring. Things like pastas. You could even cook these up, this pasta, dehydrate it and store it so it can just be rehydrated 1, 2, 3 in the event of an emergency. Things like energy bars on hand in case you just need a snack. Different types of rice dishes, worth their weight in gold. These Lipton type consommes are great items to have because it's like a soup powder. You could add it and make a broth with it. You could add rice to that broth, pasta to that broth, meat to that broth. And in a time when you don't want to be eating things that are dry and going to cause you to have to keep gulping water. So if you make a soup out of it, you're hydrating and eating food at the same time. That's where these broths come into play to flavor the water that you're taking in. Next on the list, I'm just going around here, lighting, different types of lighting, solar lighting, flashlights like you see here. These flashlights can be separated right here, that Stanley light, into 3 lights, or keep it as 1 light. There's a solar light there. My Light of Life by Goal Zero, I could string these up using my power pack that I have a video on and light my interior of my house for days on end. Communications, things like ham radios, CB radios, like this Cobra you see here. Regular radios with a shortwave capability like the one you see here. AM FM capability, shortwave, weather, emergency radios like the one behind me that's crank and solar. It's an Eaton. You see them advertised all the time during hurricane season. And again, just basic flashlights, batteries, and things that you need to go with it will be essential. Well, backup items to cook with. If the gas or power goes out, and this certainly is just a glimpse of some of the stove types you could have, but just a basic stove like an Esbit can easily boil water and rehydrate a meal and keep you alive. And these stoves are about $10, and the packets, these Esbit tablets, come in packs of 12 for about $5. Stock up on those. Just gas-powered stoves, isobutane stoves like this Soto stove you see here. You've seen it in some of my videos. I carry this stove with me in my pack. Some fuel to power that stove. Pots, pans, and things to cook with. This is just a kettle that can be used to boil water. And then items to eat with, like this you see here, this GSI set. The stainless or titanium spork and the GSI lid. okay? Bowls and plastic utensils, paper utensils, things to eat out of. Medical kits, things for cleaning and caring for wounds, like this medical kit or trauma kit you see here in front of you. And just things that also have everyday things like Band-Aids and gauze and regular over-the-counter medicines like Motrin and Advil and Imodium, things for diarrhea. You know, this, I'm just showing you a sample here. This trauma pack with quick clot in it. If you did get you know, a wound and you couldn't get to a hospital or things were down, you could treat that blood bleeding fast and quickly without bleeding out. So trauma packs with quick clot are very important in a grid down scenario, whatever the cause of it is. Things to give you fresh water. This is on the fly, like this Sawyer. Can be screwed to a water bottle, can be drink right from a lake or a stream, and now you have drinking water in case your stores of water ran out. Okay, this is just one type of filtering system. There are many on the market. Make sure you have things, bases covered based on the area you live in. I live in an area where a lot of the retention areas have water, but some of it's contaminated. It has chemical runoff in it from the streets and from fertilizers and things of that nature, pesticides. So your filter, like this Sawyer, although it will filter out the basics, Giardia, Cryptosporidium, some viruses, it's not going to filter chemicals. So you have to rethink that and get a filter like a Berkey or something that'll give you that chemical filtration. Or the new Renovo filter like the Life Straw or like the Sawyer and the Life Straw. The Renovo goes a step further and gives you the chemical treatment as well. So that's something I have to add to my preps. A way to recharge your devices like this Halo. Very simple. Or my Goal Zero system that I have, the battery pack, I could use that. Other things like binoculars to see, you know, at a distance in case you had to go out and scout an area, weren't sure if it was safe or not. You got a nice pair of, you know, not the greatest binoculars on the list, but definitely can get you by. These Tasco 12 by 25 binoculars. Things like folding knives like the Spyderco here, or this J. Martini Inox knife, straight blade knife. The Kamenga compass or the Lensatic type compass like you see here. Something that in case you had to go out, you could find direction. Many times after a storm, things are devastated. You don't even know which way's north, south, east, or west because all your landmarks are taken down. That's where a compass would come into play. A headlamp, things to keep your hands free. Oil lamps, getting back to lighting. These are inexpensive. You could buy the parts and items for it in Lehman's online, and there you go. You have lighting now with your stored up oils that you keep, and the wick is and the flame is contained in the glass jar, and you're good to go. Things again to clean wounds, to clean your hands in case disease breaks out. Something like Hibiclens here can definitely save you from transmitting disease if you're keeping your hands clean with this type of soap or wash or skin cleanser during a grid down or an SHTF situation. Getting back to food there, the pets. Don't forget our pets. I'm getting ready to do a video now on a pet kit that I got off of a government website. It's pretty simple. I'm going to put it together for Teddy and have it stored for him in case we did have to leave, or just to have it stored away for him in case of a long-term emergency. Gosh, things like waterproof matches. Down here in South Florida, the lights, power goes down, and you find yourself without AC and bugs and things like that. Creepy crawlers come out. If you had to go outside, you need something like Deep Woods Off or the Sawyer spray to spray on your clothing with the permethrin in it, and to keep bugs away from you and your clothing. Again, periodicals or magazines. This one here, I just purchased recently called Off Grid. It's a great magazine. I highly recommend it. There's also a magazine called Recoil by the same authors. I didn't get that one, but this one I did pick up. I am reading it. There's the website for it, offgridweb.com. This magazine is very well laid out. The products and the reviews are excellent. The stories are excellent. There's even a story here in this particular article, in this particular issue, of three men that are famous in the industry for survival, giving their stories on how they would survive a grid down EMP situation. A very good scenario that they go through. And then all the products that are in here are shown, the websites are given, the prices are given, what they're used for is given, and it just gives you a good base to put together and add to what you already have. And so I'm going to cut this video short, but I wanted to mention one other thing that I'm going to put a link to, or a little piece of video to, at the end of this video. It's trash. What happens to our trash? Well, I live in a situation right now where I'm in an apartment, and just the other day, 4th of July I think it was, I filmed our trash room down the hall, and I couldn't even get the door open. It was filled to the ceiling almost with trash. People that, you know, had parties or were getting ready to have parties and threw their trash in there. And guys, that was one day of trash. That's something that has to be thought about. For a grid down, long-term situation, you've got to think on how I'm going to get rid of trash. And in an apartment building, that trash is definitely going to have to be taken out, burned, or put somewhere else away from the building, because you'll definitely attract roaches and rodents and all kinds of animals. And not only that, but nasty smells and disease that follows. So think about where you live, how fast the trash is going to pile up, and how you're going to take care of that. Bury it, burn it, whatever. You got to have the means to do that and the wherewithal to be able to do that. And so that's the video today on preparedness and getting ready for whatever it is, guys. I don't have to go through the list again, but make sure you have all your bases covered, and don't just be heavy in one area and lacking in another. Learn, like I always preach, learn to know where you're weak or where you need help, and increase that area. Take this time while we have it, and while you have it, to increase the areas where you are weak and bring those up. Whatever it is, whether it's a skill set or it's a prep. You're weak on water, bring up water. You're weak on long-term food, bring up long-term food. You're weak on medical, bring up medical. You're weak on weapons and ammo, bring up weapons and ammo. Questions, comments? Always appreciated. Thankful for all the new subscribers. Hopefully this video helps you prepare and get ready for anything that comes your way. Stay ready. Anthony signing off. This is what I fear in SHTF. Trash buildup. This is one night. 4th of July.